Hey everybody, it's Miss Carrie, and today we are going to talk about our notes that are on the third string of our guitar. When we say the third string, we mean going from the highest, thinnest string up by two more strings to bring us to the third string. If you're playing on a nylon string acoustic guitar, this will be your last clear or black colored string. If you're on a steel string guitar, it will be your first gold or bronze tone string, and our first two strings will be a silver tone. If you're on an electric guitar, you'll notice that it doesn't have any grooves on it. When we get to the fourth string, that's when we'll start to see grooves on our strings. So that's the easiest way to be able to tell that you're moving in the right direction to the third string. So the third string happens to be the easiest of all of the six strings that we learn because it only contains two notes. So the notes that the string will contain at this time will be our open G, which is our third string, and it will be represented here by the second line of the staff. Okay, so remember how we learned our lines were every good band deserves funding, e.g. BDF from the bottom to the top. This is another point where I like to reiterate that the strings are not represented by the lines per se. There's only going to be two strings that are open that are actually going to be on lines themselves. The other three lines will actually be fretted notes. So the G and the B are the two notes that will actually go on the lines that do represent open strings. So always remember, again, second line of the staff represents the third string open, okay? So we're going to notice here that our G on the second line is different from our other G. So as you've heard me state in previous videos, please try not to write letters on your notes because this is going to be the point of confusion for you if you are doing that, because what we're doing now is getting into duplicated letters. So a question that students commonly ask me is, how do I know what note it is? Well, simply put, you have to memorize approximately three things for each note that you learn. You have to learn where the note falls on the staff, where you're going to play the note, and if it's a fretted note, what finger you're going to be using. So there's a couple of factors that you have to memorize. The only little hint that you have is just our, anagram of our every good band deserves funding, or our FACE, face in the space for the for the spaces. So again, we have our G here on our second line. That's our third string open. What I want to show everybody here is how it's different from our other G, because the next question people commonly ask me is, how do I know which one is which? Well, simply put, they're on completely different locations of our staff. So as you could see here, our third string open G is represented by the second line of the staff. Now, if we were playing the G that we previously learned, which was our first string third fret, you are going to notice that that note is up above on the top of the staff here, above the top line. That's how you're going to know which G is which, by their staff location. So general rule of thumb here is the lower the note is on a staff, the lower it's going to sound in its pitch. And the higher the note is on the staff, the higher it's going to sound in pitch. So if you keep those two things in mind, that will kind of help to alleviate some common problems that you might have. So again, our first string third fret G will always be represented by the note that goes above the top line of the staff, and our third string open G is always going to be the second line of the staff. So that will help you alleviate which one is which. Now the only other note that we have in our third string is going to be the A note. Our A is going to be the first second fret note that we've learned in this series of our videos, and when we use the A, we're going to be using this finger here, our middle finger, okay? So a second fret note in first position or open position should always be using our middle finger. And again, just to reiterate here, our fingers in guitar always go, 1 is index, 2 is middle, 3 is ring, and 4 is pinky, okay? So if you've played piano before in your life, the fingers are different. Your thumb is actually finger number 1. So just remember, in guitar, finger number 1 is always referring to your index, 2 is your middle, 3 is your ring, and then 4 is your pinky, okay? Keep those things in mind. Now, A is going to be a space note, so it's not on a line, it's on our second space. And remember that our spaces spell the word face from the bottom to the top. So F would be our first space, and A would be our second space, okay? The cool thing about learning this string is it completes us having a full octave or 8 notes. So sometimes it's a little bit easier to understand note placement once you've used the entire alphabet, because remember, our musical alphabet goes A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. When we get to G, we start using the letters over again, hence why we have, you know, same letters that are used different times, but they'll be at different places on the staff, therefore they are completely different notes. So those are our first 2 notes here on our third string, our only 2 notes. We have G and we have A. In case you're wondering, why does the G only contain 2 notes in our first position, unlike the other strings that contain 3? Well, simply put, the 4th fret on the 3rd string is actually the same note, B, as our 2nd string open. So that tends to be a little confusing to show to beginners. So just to kind of put that out there, just know that the B string open is the same as the 3rd string 4th fret. So we don't really go over that here at this point. We touch base on that a little bit later on when we get into book 2 and we start going outside of first position. So tune in for our next video where we're going to do the study on the 3rd string. Unfortunately, I can't flip my camera back and forth to show you guys, so we'll be doing that in a separate video. So I hope you guys have a good understanding of the G and the A. Make sure that you completely understand and can play through the songs that we went over on page 8, page 9, and page 10 before you attempt to do this string, okay? So tune in again. Our next video will be a study on the 3rd string.